Welcome to Optimal Game State. Today we're going to be talking about the Frostgrave plastic box kits. So as you can see here, there's 10 in front of you. These are the ones we're going to be looking at. I have picked up some myself, which I'll be showing off in the second half of the video. So basically I've made a few of the kits just to try them out and see what they're like. I picked up both soldier kits, none of the barbarian kits, didn't pick up the Gnolls, picked up the first of the cultists, but not the second, picked up Frostgrave Knights, and picked up 2 of the wizards. I figured that would be enough to get me going, that I'd be able to make some Frostgrave warbands, and maybe some Rangers of Shadow Deep warbands, and I might even look at playing some Warcry with some of the models in here. In this video, I am going to quickly show you the sprues. I'm going to talk briefly about the kits themselves, and then once I've gotten to the end of that, I'm going to do a bit of show and tell, showing the models that I have actually made myself and put together so far, just so you can kind of get a feel for it. And I can go through some of the details that I allude to in the video as I go along. The first one we're going to have a look at is the Frostgrave Soldiers, which feels like the kind of standard. Now, if you look at the very bottom of this, you will notice that the bodies that they have are all, they're very padded. Like, they are really designed to, or they're wearing gear that's going to protect them in the winter. So this is, perfect for Frostgrave. Not bad for everything else. Like, these kind of shaggy robes is probably kind of a standard in your medieval fantasy fare. But, just something to be aware of. You get a bunch of heads, which I have put all upside down here for some reason. I will say I did feel that this particular set of molds were a little bit soft, if that makes sense. So the details on it weren't particularly sharp. The robes in particular on the bodies feel kind of soft, I think is the best way of describing it. I'll show them a little bit later as I assemble them. You got a bunch of things that are cool in the middle. So on to that pointing hand, you've got a bag over the shoulder. You've got a backpack, some ropes, bits and pieces. A lot of cool stuff in this that you'll use in other places. We got 2 bows, 2 crossbows on this sprue. Now you do get 4 of these sprues, so you're going to be able to make 8 of each of those if you want. And then you've got two two-handed weapons up top, and we got an axe, 2 swords. What else we have in there? 2 shields. There's another sword. Is that a mace? I think that might be a mace. There's bits and pieces. There's enough to well equip out those 5 in however you want to do them, and it's going to give you a decent amount of variety across them all. This is the second Frostgrave Soldiers kit, and each of the 2 kits is always going to be focused on a bunch of female miniatures. So again, we've got the 5, we've got the heads. There are a couple of different options in here, so you are going to be able to mix and match some of these details. So at the very top left, or more into the middle, you can see there's a cloak. That cloak will go on both sets of these miniatures. Maybe not perfectly. I think it is a little bit better designed for the female bodies, but you can get it in place. You can green stuff any of the gaps in, or trim it wherever you need to. It is going to work. And on the top right, you can see there's more robes, there's more backpacks. We've got 2 more bows, different types of shields, and a bunch of axes and swords down near the bottom. Notably, the shoulders do have a bit of a fur trim. So I don't, it might be noticeable. It's not too noticeable, but it might be noticeable if you're mixing up the arms. So you probably want to use the same arm, or arms from the same sprue, if that makes sense. So rather than doing... We'll look at them later, but maybe the knights. So maybe the knights and the soldiers don't use one shoulder for the knights and one shoulder from the soldiers. That might look a bit weird, but just something to be aware of. Note also, the male and female will have a lot of crossover. You can probably get away with using some of the arms back and forth or mixing some of the heads, but they are a little slighter, it feels, on the female sprues than necessarily the males. This is Barbarians. This probably is one of the older sprues from what I can tell, because it does use the Frostgrave First Edition symbol on the top left rather than the second edition one, which I think all the others do, but that might have just got an old picture to it. Axes. This has got lots and lots of axes, which is great. It's got a couple of throwing axes, which we hadn't seen before. More heads, and the great thing about this is cross-compatible with the soldiers. So you can take those heads and put them with the soldiers' bodies, and you can mix and match a lot of the arms here, which is great. We also get a female sprue. Now, I do want to note this here. So if you look, I've circled in red part of the sprue, and the reason I'll I'm doing that as I want to talk about that later, but just to note that it is on the Frostgrave Barbarians II. I haven't got that kit myself, so I'm not 100% sure. But again, we're getting a bunch of extra options. We're getting basically the same as we got in the Barbarians 1, but for females, which is awesome. It gives us more options, and we get more pouches, and we get more weapons. So great. This is the Cultists. The Cultist goes back to that kind of Soldiers 1 version that we were talking about. And there is a Cultist 2, which is kind of similar. Now, this is a lot of creepy heads, a lot of masks, and they just look really creepy with their hoods. Notably, so if we go down to the bottom, you got the bodies, then above that you got the heads. The next section over there is interesting. On the left-hand side, we have 2 skulls for heads, and we have a couple of arms that are skeleton arms. On the right-hand side, we've got 2 kind of zombie ghoul heads, and we've got kind of shriveled hands that are reaching forward, very, very zombie-like. So you can use those bits. I think a couple of the other bits here are death team. I think there are a couple of other ones that are skulls. Skeletal. You can use these bits with all of the other kits that we've seen so far and mix and match and suddenly turn that barbarian into an undead barbarian or into a zombie barbarian. I think that's super, super cool. I love this kit because you can do that. Now, it does have that same kind of soft detail on some of these, and some of the heads. Actually, the heads on these are probably a little bit better because a lot of the heads are in those pointy head things. So, the detail not being great on them isn't a big deal, whereas on a face, that's a little bit more noticeable. All right, like this kit. This is the second Cultist kit, so it's the same, but with female. It does feel like it has more options, but in theory, you should get the same number. So you're getting 5. Are you getting more options on it? Is it wider? Let's just count the heads. So we're looking at 10 heads there, ignoring the skeleton and zombie heads. And then here, we're probably looking at more heads. So I just kind of feel like the female kits might have a few more options. And yeah, part of this is this size of kit fits into the box with the base sprues, whereas this size of kit basically takes up almost all of the box. Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder why they did that. Anyway, this isn't the kit I have, so I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, we're just looking at some female cultists. Gnolls, again, not a kit I have. Very interesting in that they are Gnolls, and you don't get Gnolls from anywhere else, really. Having a flexible kit that you can, kit bash anything you want is pretty bonkers great. We're going to be able to have a bunch of crossover. Because even though so the bodies and the heads, you're not going to be able to mix around unless you're being a bit weird. But the weapons and the hands probably are still good, still game. And then the shields and the bits and bobs, are going to cross over. And that's the great thing about these. Every time you get a new kit, you're able to kind of mix and match what you already have. So this is the Frostgrave Demons. So again, was kind of like the Gnolls. Those bodies aren't necessarily something you're going to be able to use. Now, I think one of them, I think some of them seem to have boots on the feet, shoes on the feet. So you might be able to use those, but there are a couple of ones that actually have the claws out. I quite like the armor style. And the shields are very, very, very cool. So there's definitely a vibe going on with these guys. Obviously, the heads, you can cross-purpose the heads with the other kits to kind of mix up your demons. Give yourself a demon wizard if you want, as we'll see later. This quite like the Gnolls. I'm not sure I necessarily like the style of these demons. They do feel a little bit more like beastmen to me, but I guess there's much. Heavily armored beastmen. I wonder how they would work with a soldier's kit. Like if you were to, or the barbarian kit maybe. Would the head of the barbarian kit kind of get that vibe that I'm looking for rather than the kind of Frostgrave specific demon things? Anyway, this is definitely getting a bit rammery. Note that this does have the distinctive sprue style in the middle. Ignore the gaps in the sprue below. That's just the background removing, not working properly. And they've got tails at the bottom. Okay, that is quite funky. I might have to pick this kit up. All right, moving on. This is the Knight kit, and I absolutely love this kit. So again, I've circled that central part of the sprue, and the reason I'm marking those is because the detail on this kit is much sharper than it is on the other kits. So the Knight's kit, it feels a lot closer to modern GW kits in terms of sharpness and detail. Obviously, it's a lot more modular than your classic Age of Sigmar or your Warcry boxes. It's great. I absolutely love this. Now, there are a bunch of bodies. The 5 bodies. I'm kind of tempted to use some of the arms with the other bodies. So I'm going to be taking some of the soldiers. As we'll see later, I have some examples of me like taking one of the soldiers' bodies and then using one of these heads and using some of these arms. Because obviously you get tons of arms, you get tons of kit. Now, again, if you look at the shields, and this is what I was talking about, and the backs of those do have a nice pattern to them, but the front also has something that you can work with. So you don't necessarily have to completely freehand it, although there is one there, a kite shield that can do that. But yeah, the point here is this kit I wasn't too keen on because it was 10 rather than 20. And I think it was a little cheaper, but model per model, it was a little bit more expensive. But this hands down is my favorite kit. I hopefully, as the time goes on, we'll see a few more kits that are in this style that use this. And which was it? So one of the ones that we didn't get, the Barbarians II kit. So that was the female Barbarians kit. Seems to have the same style of sprue, so that particular mark in the middle, which the others didn't have. So I might have to pick up that Barbarian 2 one specifically to see if it is as good quality as this one is, because this was a fantastic kit. I highly recommended. And again, same things to say: bunch of heads, bunch of bodies, interchangeable with everything else. Gives you options, gives you range, and lots of like pouches, bottles, quivers, and stuff that's helps out. Next up, we're moving into wizards. So again, this is that sharper detail sprue that we saw with the knights. These ones are only 8 per box. It's only 2 sprues with 4 bodies per it, so that's kind of why you're getting it. So I think, like, realistically, it's the same as the 10, because you're still getting 2 sprues. They're still filling up the sprue real estate. And in this case, you're getting a bundle of heads. And notably, the male heads in this aren't necessarily wizards. So you do have some with pointy hats. And you do have some with, like, symbols on them and whatever. But they don't necessarily have to be wizards. Some of them, obviously are, but not all of them. Some of them are just plain heads, and I have to admit, I've used them across some of the other models, and it looks great. So yeah, this is, even if you aren't necessarily too interested in wizards, like the fact that the heads are better quality adds to the knight heads, which are also quite good, and kind of gives you more options and things to work with. Also, there are some swords, there are some bits and pieces in this, like just pointing and gesturing arms, which are always fun to have. Bottles, books, weird little things. Loving it. And similarly, we have a female version of the same. Again, the female heads are much better detailed than we've seen in the other kits. We don't have an equivalent of the knights for the females. So this is kind of, if you're looking to build something with a bunch of ladies, I do kind of feel like you definitely want to pick this up, even if you don't necessarily want to get a wizard. Do I say that? I'm not. It's an entire extra box just for a few heads. That might be a bit excessive, but it is a very, very cool kit, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. Again, you're getting more bottles, you're getting more arms, and, the arms are going to be able to cross over. They're like wizarding arms. It's all good. All right, next up, I'm going to show you some of the things that I have done with my boxes. Alrighty, so we've had a look at some of the boxes, sprues, but now we're going to have a look at some of the actual models put together. Okay, so these are some from the soldier kit. So, it's a pretty standard archer, will come in useful. It's a guy with a 2-handed axe and for some reason going in close to go stab someone. Sword and shield. Helmet. Nice. Again, we've got another big two-handed. Haven't quite worked out how to fit the two-handed weapons on, or at least this one. So that one's just kind of raised. And he's kind of shielding himself from the sun. Yeah, so not quite sure what we're doing with this one. And then here, we had a little bit more fun. So this one, there is a open hand that you can put things in, and then there's a fiery brand that was just there. We also put a bit of rope on the back, and he's got an axe just to the side. So options, lots and lots of options. So we've got range options, we've got two-handed ones. Yeah, it gives us plenty to work with. So we are able to kind of make things the way we wanted. These were just quickly thrown together, so I didn't take a lot of time working them out, and had a friend of mine, Paul, when he came over, he assembled some of these for me as well. Yeah. So can you see what I mean when I'm talking about the kind of soft detail? So it's not kind of, I don't know, it's a little bit more board gamey kind of plastic mold than I'm kind of used to with kind of GW models. Okay, so let's move these out of the way. Move this side. Here are some of the ladies. Actually, we'll leave one of the guys back in so we can kind of see the difference. So they're similar. You can see they've got the fur lining, so all of their clothes has this fur lining, which is kind of in contrast to soldiers in box one. Cloak, nice extra detail. And here we've got one of the heads has a nice braid at the back, which is a fun little piece. So just giving her a crossbow. She's just running. I mean, it is what it is. You can put together a bunch of people with weapons, and you can get out there and play some games. Very cool. Now, what do I want to show next? Here we go. Oh, maybe not these first. These first, yeah. Okay. So these are two of the cultists from the cultist box. As you can see, I have started painting them, and for some reason I put them on GW sprues. I think the intention was to do a full set of them in the various different colors of chaos. These were very quickly done, so they're just assembled. You can see I've put some basic material down to kind of hide what you have there with the lip. And just as an aside, I did recently see some of the Wargame Atlantics ones where they had actually a sink base. So there was a little bit more of a lip coming out, which would make putting the material over it a lot easier. So I might, just want to keep an eye out for. But yeah, the hoods, cool. I did see Peachy painting them on stream recently. Yeah, they're kind of creepy. They're kind of sinister. They're definitely cultists. And in this case, we've given them kind of curvy blades, which are kind of creepy. It's a Kopesh though. It's not creepy. It's like proper Egyptian. Anyway, love those. Love them. Gonna be doing lots more of those. And yeah, because that's one of the 20 kits, so you can do a hell of a lot of them. Now, this is a mix. So this is one of the soldier kits. So you can see those big clothes, bulky clothes, and I use some of the cultist undead parts. So you get an undead warrior. Isn't that cool? And then on this one, we just did the same, but one of those weird kind of zombie heads and some zombie arms, and boom, zombie, good to go. A lot of the hands don't have, you can't see it. So you can see the hand on this one is a glove. So you can feel that as an undead. Because obviously, if you can't see it's an undead arm, it might be an undead arm, underneath it all. Anyway, I love this. You can do it with any of the kits. Very, very cool. All right, what's next? This is from the Nightbox. Let me do it to him later. This is one of the guys from Nightbox. So can you see what I mean when I say the detail is a lot sharper? Let's bring in one of the other guys. So look at that helmet. And then compare it to that helmet. Like the lines and detail is just sharper on the knight miniature. Let's see if we can see from the back. Can you see there? I think you can. Yeah. Just yeah, these ones are just better. No other way of saying it, unfortunately. They are just better. You do get less, as I said. But yeah, I'm super, super happy with these. I will be getting more knights. I don't need to get more soldiers because you get 20 in a box. So yeah, there definitely is an advantage to doing it. But I did quite like that. Now, check out this. So this is one of the heads from the knight box. Then the body and the body is actually from one of the cultists, as is the arms. Generally, I have found that the arms will fit a little bit better, if it's in the same box. Now, in this case, you can see that arm sticks out. Sorry, that left leg sticks out, and this bow stance makes sense for it. Which is why this worked out here. But yeah, you will be able to do some crossover with somebody if you want. Anyway, the sword is from the Knight's Kit. The roll is from the Knight's Kit, and then the backpack there is, I believe, from one of the soldier kits. So I've kind of mixed up a few of them to kind of give myself a ranger. Once I get this guy painted up, he might be my go-to character for Ranger Shadowdeep. He's a bit of a Aragorn style character. And speaking of which, from the Knight box, I did do this guy. So this is your classic grey wizard, or your kind of Gandalf equivalent. So we haven't given him a lot. It's body, head, arms, all from the same kit, and then I gave him a sheathed shield that might have come from the Knight box. There's actually so many bits, it's hard to keep track of them after I start cutting them up. But yeah, it's a nice, simple wizard. Gets the job done. And obviously for Frostgrave, you want to be able to do him, and then you want to be able to do a novice. So you might put, fancier bits on the novice. Maybe, give him robes, don't give him a hat, don't give him a staff, and then you got your novice. And then you just kind of paint them up the same teams, and you've got your two guys, and you're good to go. So, yeah, pretty happy with that. Just to mention here, you can see on the backpack there is a little bit of a gap. It's not massive. It's not a really big deal. I don't really care. But some of these backpacks will work better on other ones. Arguably, maybe I should have given him a quiver, but he's all good. He magics up the arrows from somewhere. Now, this next section, this next bit, is a little bit weird because one of the first things I did was I actually made a bunch of characters for the fighters or the players out of my Warframe game. So currently I am a player in a Warframe game. We're playing through the Enemy Within campaign again, and I'm having a lot of fun. Okay, so let's see who we have. So first up, we have Lenara. So she is an amethyst mage. Now, let's have a look and see what we got in here. So we've got a female wizard body. We have got a book. So the hand and book again from the wizards. And then we've got a staff. Now, the character, and often happens with the amethyst. So these are the Lore of Death wizards in the Empire. They rock with sides. So this side option wasn't there, but there was a staff with a skull on it. And then there was also a sword that was slightly curved. So I cut off the pommel, grip of the sword, and then filed things around and then glued it down. Then for the head, this is actually from the male sprue, but you can't tell. And the reason is I couldn't find a decent bald head in the collection, and Lenara does have a bald head. She is rocking the bald look. We gave her a skull, because why not? She can tell me who it is later. And then we gave her a backpack, because, adventuring. Okay, this is my own character, which I have to admit didn't come out great. So, things. He's got a sword. I gave him a dagger, because he can also two-handed wield. the rest of the warriors in this group do have chainmail, because we've gotten to the point where we've realized that chainmail and shields are the way to go. Now, I have found myself in a couple of situations where we've had to have someone carrying a torch, and I've ended up carrying a torch, which meant I wasn't wielding my shield, which is incredibly dangerous. This is my character, Schmith, is a witch hunter. So what I like doing is pulling out two pistols and firing those pistols simultaneously, which is an option I got with dual wielder. Now, there are no pistols and there are no firearms across these Frostgrave kits. I did have a look and I did see that the pirate kit that they have, so Frostgrave Ghost Archipelago, does have a crewman kit, but that kit does not have pistols in it. I did ask around, and it was suggested by someone in Peachy's Discord that there is I think it's a War Games Atlantic heavy cavalry kit that looks like it has a bunch of pistols. So yeah, it's for kind of Italian style in cavalry, but yeah, that is not where we were. Okay, so that's my character. Next up, we have. Oh, what's the name of this character? Albrecht. This is Albrecht. So again, we've got the chainmail, we've got the sword, we've got the shield. That's basically how our guy's been crewed up. This is actually is he a crewman? He's a sailor, and he's aiming for captain. Alas, I couldn't find a lot of great indicators of that, so I gave him this hat, which feels kind of nautical, not super nautical. And then there was a bit of gap in the backpack, so I've just covered it over with some brown stuff in this case. That's what I had on hand. So Albrecht is an up-and-coming noble, probably. He definitely wants to be a noble. Whether he can bully his way into nobility is something we will see over time. This is Rosamund, or Feuerwerk, as she's sometimes called. So we had a lot to work with this, which was kind of fun. So we got a female body. That's from the female soldiers. This was essential because Rosamund has the strike to stun ability, so she uses her warhammer and aims for the head every time, which can knock out the occasional people. Again, we've got her in with a shield. She does have chainmail, so thankfully you can see that's got the knight arms here. So we took the arms from the knight kit and put it on her. Because the female soldier doesn't show any chainmail, and there isn't a Knight 2 kit. She also switches to the bow occasion, so we glued a quiver and a bow on her back, and I think she came out great. I'm super, super happy with him. And then last of all, we have Friedrich. So, if you're wondering why Friedrich has a chicken in his hands, you've already lost the battle, because that was part of his cunning plan all along, and you have fallen for it. This is our spy. This is our face man, and sometimes his schemes are so convoluted and complicated and so beyond us that we are the ones that are left befuddled and confused. A lot of fun. So he does use is it a rapier he uses? Yeah. So he has specialized in that line, so we managed to get something that at least looked like it a little bit. He does have a flask, a little bit of a drinking problem, and a gambling problem also, which is a concern because he's the one that keeps all of the funds for the party. He's also a bit of a talker, hence getting a nice talking head was pretty great. This is one of the ones that I got from the wizard one, and it did require a little bit of green stuffing or brown stuffing to get it in properly, but super, super happy with this model. It's got a lot of character, and the fact that they added fun stuff in, like that chicken, is just great. So I'm super happy with that. So this is my crew. This is my weekly get together with my friends, and I think we're close to the end of Death on the Reich, so we have a lot of fun ahead of us. Anyway, that was me, and that was my look at all of these Frostgrave boxes. Um, I think they're great. I highly recommend them. I've had a lot of fun building them. I am going to have to actually play some Graded Frostgrave, or as I said, look at making some rules for them in Warcry, which, you know, they're just fighters. You can definitely do it to get these on the table. But even if I never do, I've enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to painting a lot of them, especially this crew. And that's it. That's everything that I've put together so far. So, what do I think? I think these are great. I think these are very, very fun. I was a little bit worried, I have to admit, when I saw that kind of softer style on some of the models, but you are getting a decent bang for your buck with them. You are getting 20 models in those boxes rather than the 10 that you're seeing with the Knights, or the 8 that you're seeing with the Wizards. The fact that you can cross over them is kind of great. You know, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of things you can do with it. The kits where, like the Cultist kit, where you're adding in some skulls and you're suddenly able to make some undead or some zombies out of the models you already have. Brilliant. Really, really clever. Yeah, I hope we see more of this. I hope they keep releasing kits like this, because this is an absolutely fantastic range of models and is really, really fun to put things together with. Yeah, in an upcoming video, I think I might have a look at how we could use these in Warcry, just because Warcry is one of my favorite games. Obviously, you can use these in Frostgrave, you can use these in Rangers of Shadowdeep, which is kind of what they're intended for. You can use it in your RPG games. You know, you can do whatever you want with them. Thanks for making it all the way to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Each week, I put up a new video talking about one of Games Workshop's specialist games. The goal is always to try and make the best possible two-player experience. If this is something you'd find interesting, please subscribe to the channel and comment to let me know what you'd like to see in future.